Awesome. So we are back in business following our conference that we had last week. So we've been a little quiet lately, but very excited about this week's topic because I think it was a major conversation within our internal conference and something that we are continuing to invest in as a company, which is the DemandSense platform. Let's just do a little intro to start. What is DemandSense? What is kind of the expectations that people can get coming into working with DemandSense?
So yeah, it's a good question. DemandSense is a kind of software platform that Impactable has developed over the last couple of years. And it started as just an initial way to tap into LinkedIn ad features that weren't available out there. So there's a handful of things that LinkedIn provides to its API partners that aren't available in the actual platform. So things like scheduling and rotating of ads. If you want to turn your ads off in the middle of the night, turn them off or down on the weekends, or have ads that kind of turn on and off and rotate, that's not possible through the LinkedIn native ad platform, but we can do that through DemandSense. The other one was frequency caps for certain accounts, so that if your ads being shown 1,000,000 times to the same companies, they're clicking on your ads, you can actually set a frequency threshold so that you don't waste budget there. We've embedded reporting from one of our third-party partners. So my favorite thing is the demographic breakdowns. Who am I doing better with by industry, by company size? That's now in there. There's also this idea of audience tuning, which is kind of new, but it's kind of that same idea. If I'm actually seeing the performance by industry, by company size, by seniority, the next thing I want to do is take action. So straight from our platform, if you see an industry that you're performing really poorly in, you can thumbs down it, and it pushes it into an exclusion list for those campaigns. So you actually stop spending money on those campaigns. And it works the same with company size, seniority, some other breakouts. And then the other big thing, so that was everything that DemandSense was originally, was this additional tools for LinkedIn ads that didn't exist out there natively, and that if you did find them out there in the wild, they were very overpriced. So we have that collection of LinkedIn ad tools. And then the other big thing that's in DemandSense is it houses our website visitor identification tool, which it's a little pixel code that goes on your website. It allows us to see your website traffic, the IP address. This is specific for US-based traffic and companies. And it actually is able to find the personal information, even their personal LinkedIn profile of your actual website visitors, which is an extra layer of insight that kind of shows you not just the quality of traffic you're attracting naturally and through ads, but also a warm list of leads who haven't identified themselves that you could reach out and kind of nudge or try to communicate with. So those are the main things that are in DemandSense right now. It's kind of a packed tool for us.
Yeah, definitely. It's been, I know, a big value add for a lot of our clients because it's one of those packages that a lot of our clients have in addition to the ad strategy services. And it really helps add that additional layer of help and control over their LinkedIn ads, which I know is something that a lot of people have been wanting to have, especially with the native platform not always being the easiest to work within. So I wanted to focus in on a few of kind of the key features that you highlighted here. The first one being kind of those deeper insights and more advanced reporting than what you can get from LinkedIn. So let's just talk about that. What can we get out of DemandSense that you can't get in the native LinkedIn platform?
In the native LinkedIn platform, if you know what you're doing, you can highlight campaigns and you can go to performance, and then you can select these subcategories and you can try to see the demographic breakdown. But they make it really hard to find, and they don't put it in very easy to cipher formats. So one of the best things, is if you actually go to the demographics section on our reporting, you see all the industries, and you can sort it a lot better. I think on LinkedIn, you can sort by like impressions or clicks. The industries that you had the most impressions and most clicks. Ours, you can sort by clicks, by impression, by cost, by number of leads, conversions. There's a lot more metrics and ways to slice the data. I usually like to sort it by cost. So I want to see the industries I'm spending the most money on, and I want to see it descending. And then I want to look specifically for, okay, are there industries I'm spending the most money on that are yielding either no results, because I almost always find that, like, if you can find, within your top 10 industries of spend, a couple of industries that you're not seeing any results in, like I've spent $5,000 on these two industries and we haven't had any leads or conversions at all this year from them, then just simply using that report and excluding those industries will funnel that spend to your better performing industries. And then the other big insight that I find from there is there's usually a big difference in cost per lead between your top industries that you do the best with and the rest of them. So if I find an industry that I'm particularly winning in, I have a much better cost per lead or cost per conversion, then I would segment that industry out into a separate like hero campaign and just target that specific industry, maybe get messaging and ads geared specifically to that. But the industry breakdown is one of the best ones. And then the company size I find is the next most insightful. And it's the same deal. You might find that, yes, while you want to attract 5,000 plus person companies, you might actually find that you're not actually getting any leads or conversions from that group, but you're spending all of your money there. So while that might be wishful thinking and you were trying to go up market, you realize that most of your conversions or leads are coming from the 11 to 50 or 50 to 200 group, and you'd be better off just focusing on that. Or if you really did want to break into the 5,000 plus, based on these insights, based on how miserably you're failing right now, it might warrant its own separate campaign, creative that speaks directly to those bigger target companies, to their pain points, and you want to segment that out. So those insights to me are pretty valuable, and LinkedIn natively doesn't make it easy at all to see that data or slice it and dice it in a very meaningful way.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's one of the biggest gripes that I have with LinkedIn Campaign Manager too, is like when you want to pull these sorts of reports to discuss, how certain demographics have been performing, or you want to sort your reporting by certain, KPIs or certain segments that you're prioritizing as a company. It's really difficult to pull those from Campaign Manager.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you also brought up was, or we're kind of like getting into here, is a little bit of that targeting piece, right? So obviously with that more insightful reporting, we're able to identify, maybe the top performing industries or the top performing company sizes. And so how can we kind of use DemandSense to bring that information into how we target on LinkedIn, and what kind of targeting capabilities do we have that are a little bit different from what you might see in Campaign Manager?
Yeah, and that would probably be into the audience tuning section. So some of the same insights, but when you connect to your account and you're looking at those, you'll see, I guess the easy one is it's easy to push exclusions from DemandSense into your platform or into the campaign manager. There's also currently right now, what we're working on is, there's a thumbs up, thumbs down. So if you thumbs down, it pushes it into exclusion. And I think you can select if it's just that campaign, or if it's account wide that you want to exclude that. Because some of them I might want to exclude just from the cold layer, but I don't mind if it makes it into retargeting. It's precious dollars up front to try to hit an audience that maybe you don't do the best attracting. The other thing with the audience tuning, I guess with targeting, is by seniority level with our data vendors. So right now we aren't able to just natively inside DemandSense create these additional audiences and then push them into LinkedIn. But that is a future capability we want right now. So currently, the additional targeting is mostly just the ability to push exclusions from here. And then as you thumbs up stuff right now, it doesn't necessarily do anything. But what we're trying to do is push that into machine learning, where it starts looking at either the company seniority, company sizes that you're identifying as the best fit for you. And that should be going into a learning process that helps enhance the targeting and recommendations down the road. Another big thing I think we're really working on right now is automatically surfacing some of those demographic insights. So right now, like I said, it's a manual effort, even if you do get the top 10, top 20 industries or company sizes to say, okay, here's your threshold of like an average cost per lead. Here's the industries that fall, either below that or way below that. And I recommend you exclude those. And here's the industries that are performing way above average. We recommend maybe segmenting them out and giving them their own like budget and campaign. So that's in the works of these automated insights and recommendations that I think would be extremely valuable, but they aren't quite out there yet.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that audience tuning piece is such a big piece of the puzzle too, because at least with some of my clients that have been using DemandSense to adjust their audience targeting, it's been a lot of like well, if you're targeting job titles in your campaign, you can't necessarily exclude based on function and seniority. And so sometimes it can be difficult to identify which job titles you want to include in your exclusions. And so being able to jump into DemandSense and identify those specific job titles that are kind of being brought in, or that you're serving impressions to, that you're paying to serve impressions to, that don't necessarily align with your ICP, has been a really big value add for a lot of my clients too.
I forgot another big one, that a big difference between DemandSense and LinkedIn native is, so in LinkedIn, if you know where to look, you can actually see the companies that have been exposed to your ads the most, but they'll only show you a handful of companies when you look at the report inside of LinkedIn. But if you pull up that same section on DemandSense, it's all of them. There could be like 5,000, 6,000 companies. And again, you can sort that data a lot differently. And then from there, if you see the companies that are engaging with your ads the most and they're bad fit companies, you can take immediate action, thumbs down them, and add them to the exclusion list, which again is something that would be really hard to toggle. If you wanted to do that in LinkedIn, you would have to find and navigate where they hide that. Chances are you wouldn't be able to see the whole list, and then you would have to go into each and every one of your campaigns and add that company to the exclusion list, versus what DemandSense does is it can actually push that company into a universal exclusion list across all of your campaigns with the push of a button. So that's definitely a level up from what you can do inside LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. Campaign Manager does have a way of hiding some of that, really key information sometimes. And so it can be a little difficult to navigate. So I think, that thumbs up, thumbs down feature is definitely a huge one when it comes to just making the experience of advertising on LinkedIn a lot better. Yeah. And while we're on the topic of, controlling the way that your ads are either targeted or set up, the other area that I know we have highlighted as an improved control area really is the ad scheduling. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. What is the benefit of ad scheduling? What is kind of the use case here? Is it really worth going through and pausing your ads in the middle of the night?
Yeah, so this was something, and as people that come from other channels, this is, I think, usually something they expect, that usually you can set up some kind of schedule or some kind of control, and LinkedIn just never rolled that out yet. Even though they make it available in their API, they don't make it available to the actual users. So to me, one of the things that I realized, especially if you have Google Analytics and you're able to see your backend traffic, I've noticed for myself and many of our clients that I've looked at, there is a noticeable drop in quality of traffic after a certain point of the day. So after about 9, 10, 11 p.m., the quality of traffic, and you can judge that by how long they stay, how quick they bounce, if they take meaningful actions like actually visiting your pricing page or actually submit their information. It's not completely garbage traffic, but the quality is noticeably different. And then there's the idea that buying behaviors, on different days. So for example, what I've done with our ad scheduling is Monday, Tuesday, usually Tuesday is probably the day that most of our new leads come in. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is decent. By Friday afternoon and Friday evening, it starts to drop off. Saturday is usually a big drop off. And then maybe Saturday evening's decent, maybe Sunday evening's decent. But what I've noticed is organizations have different buying patterns. Their prospects are in these kind of modes, and it makes a noticeable difference to stop the spend in certain times of the day. Especially for me, it makes sense to not advertise, after midnight or before 5 a.m. For some reason, 5 a.m. is a decent time to advertise that morning session, the afternoon, even Saturday evening, Sunday evening. So ad scheduling, I do think, from my experience, has added a decent level of quality control. And then the other thing that it lets you get around, and I don't think most people think of it this way, is LinkedIn has a minimum $10 a day budget threshold. So if I wanted to run 2 separate campaigns to the same audience, I would either have to lump all those creatives into the same campaign and run it at $10 a day, or I'd have to, split that out into 2 different campaigns, and I'd, be spending twice as much as maybe I wanted to. With ad scheduling, what you could do is you could have them rotate. You could have one campaign running Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and the other one could be running Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So you could have these campaigns that kind of shut on and off. So they're constantly rotating. So you get around you're spending the same amount that you want, two different campaigns, and get around that through rotating, which can only be done through ad scheduling. So in my experience, those are the two biggest benefits: is quality control, getting around or being able to run more campaigns and more creatives without doubling the budget. And yeah, just having a lot more control in that way.
Yeah, that's such an interesting use case too, to be able to say that, like, okay, maybe I don't have enough to run, what is it, like $300 per month on LinkedIn ads, but I want to launch one campaign using that, ad scheduling. So you don't have to jump in and turn your campaign on and off constantly is another way to get around that minimum budget threshold too. I think is a really interesting use case, especially for some of like the lower budgets that we have out there when it comes to running LinkedIn ads.
I haven't seen anyone do it yet, but there's always clever advertisers like out there, and I imagine if you really wanted to, if you did want to like advertise, if you had separate campaigns for like the normal day and the like nights and weekends, like, hey, what are you still doing up at night? This might be interesting to you, like acknowledging the fact that you're serving an ad at 2 a.m. because you're controlling when that ad goes out, and you have these late night ads, like that could actually improve the user experience. They might really appreciate that cleverness, but that's not something I've seen anyone do. It might work for us because we market to other marketers and they might really find that funny. But I do think there's an opportunity to recognize that different times of the day or different days of the week, people are in different modes. Maybe they're in research mode or maybe they're in work mode, and having ads that maybe acknowledge where you're meeting your buyer and what mental state they're in, whether it's the weekend or a work day and they're in the office, like that could actually make a difference of how you present yourself and what kind of creative assets you use. Could definitely be something that someone leverages.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great point too about different times of day or even different days of the week. You're in a different mindset. I know, like running LinkedIn ads for some of my clients, we'll see a big dip in impressions over the weekends because people don't want to log on to something work related on the weekends, or maybe when they do, they're more driven to like simpler messaging or more creative ad assets. Whereas like during the week, they tend to be in a little bit more of that business work mode.
Agreed.
And then the last feature that we have highlighted here for DemandSense at this point in time, I know we're in constant iteration here with this software, is that website visitor identification, which is a huge piece of the puzzle. Having website visitor ID is like massive for retargeting on LinkedIn in particular, like reaching people who have visited your website and being able to build ABM lists off of those website visitors. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is the website visitor ID? How does it work? What kind of benefits can we pull out of it for our clients?
So first, I would say website visitor identification is best suited for, actually, we're only resolving US-based traffic because of the laws and the data privacy in other places of the world. It's still a lot easier and less restrictive to do that for the United States. But the idea is that you have all these visitors, you're paying all this money to get people to your website, and the truth is less than 3% usually convert. Less than 3% of your website visitors actually fill out a form or book a call or make themselves known. So you have 97% of your website traffic usually is just anonymous, unidentified traffic. So if you have the ability to uncover the personal identity of these people, and what we do is we take it a step further. We don't just, it used to be that you would either be able to find the actual person and their name and personal email, or you could discover what company someone worked with and visited, but you didn't know necessarily the actual person or what their position was in the company. So the big thing that we've done that is different than a lot of what's out there is we give you both in many cases. So no, we can't identify all of your website traffic. Usually it's about 20 to 30% of your website traffic we can identify. So that takes you from 3% previously would make themselves known to 20 or 30% could be uncovered. That's a big jump. You're never going to get 100%. The big thing we do is we actually discover the individual. We match it up with their LinkedIn account. We find what company they're attached to, bring in that data from the company, the data from them personally, and bring it into a unified record. So you can see, hey, it's John Smith from this company. They're size 50 to 200 in the industry space or in the tech space, and he's the CMO of this company, or a library assistant from, Norton Common School District visited your website. Okay, maybe that one's not necessarily a lead. This one is. So it gives you a couple of things. Like, it lets you know the quality of traffic you're attracting, because part of what it brings in is also the landing pages they visited, which include UTM. So I can see this person actually came from a Google search. This person came from my LinkedIn ads. This person found us organically. Who they are, the company they're attached to, if they're a good lead or not, where they came from, all of that. And we, a lot of times, will add a score to it based on who your ICP is. And so we can kind of sort and stack, gather insights of who you're attracting, and identify pretty warm leads who haven't identified themselves. But if you either add them, if you wanted to take a soft approach, you could take those contacts, you could add them to a specific LinkedIn marketing campaign or other channel, and really just stay in front of that group a little more, knowing that, they maybe just need a nudge. Or if you want to take a little more aggressive, you could reach out to them, either invite them to connect with you on LinkedIn, send them a message, send them an email, text them. That's a little more aggressive than probably I'm comfortable with. Show up at their door, send them a direct mail. Some of those might be advised, maybe not. But there's a lot of creative things you could do if you have their personal information. Some things, that you shouldn't do. But it opens the door to a lot of opportunities. But yeah, going from 3% to 20 or 30% of known website visitors, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's a massive jump too. And I think like that has been such a great value point, but it does also attest to, I think, some of the broader conversations that we've had in like previous, interview sessions about, cookieless data and how important it is to have your own first party data. And so being able to access that with a tool like this is really transformative for a lot of our clients.
Yeah. I definitely think that it's something that if you have US based traffic and you don't have a vendor for this, whether it's us or not, like, you should definitely consider uncovering that data, because it could just be a gold mine of additional leads. And maybe there's a lot less warm leads that companies are sicking their sales team on. So if you actually have people that have been identified that actually have spent time on your website, and one of the criteria that we can see is how many pages they visited on your website, and how long they spent on your website. So if you took all your good fit ICP people that visit your website and then sort it further to the people that were highly engaged with their visit, that's a really good group to maybe reach out and send a connection request. I think I would take a passive approach. I would just invite them to connect with me, maybe just introduce myself, not sell them, and then I would be posting content and nurture them that way and really stay in front of them. I guess that would be a really good flow to convert them long term in a soft, stalkerish kind of way.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've all kind of had those experiences where you visit a website or you open an email or something, and then all of a sudden you're bombarded by ads and you weren't even looking to follow them. So yeah, I like that approach to like inviting them to join your network and giving them a little bit more of that like warm nurturing that we tend to do with some of the organic efforts.
They get clever now. Have you gotten a direct mail postcard after visiting a website yet?
Oh, I have not. I would be terrified if I did, though.
Well, after you know Bill and after you visit the websites that he sends you to, I've gotten it 3 or 4 times where I visited a website and a week later I get a direct mail postcard from that company acknowledging that I visited their website and following up with more information. I think and apparently we have the ability to do that because he also owns or is selling a direct mail intelligence company. And so it would be easy enough for us to plug that in, but I don't think we're quite ready for that level. But I do think direct mail is going to make a comeback, and I am kind of excited about trying something like that.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And that lends really well to how I'd like to wrap up this conversation, yeah. Which is, what is the future of DemandSense? I know this is something that we're constantly iterating on. I know like there have been things that have been added over time and client requests that have come in. So what do you kind of see on the horizon for us?
So first, it started as a simple tool set with LinkedIn tools that weren't available on the market. I think the next step is we're really going to enhance those tools and make it, best in class LinkedIn tools asset. And then immediately the next thing that we're going to push for is for this to be something more like metadata, essentially where it's more multi-channel or omni-channel. So expanding beyond LinkedIn, getting, Meta programmatic, looking at SMS and yes, direct mail, and also pulling in additional like data vendors. So ideally in a future state for DemandSense, you should be able to create your ideal audience, not necessarily with LinkedIn filters, but it might be firmographic, technographic, build those lists, own that data, build the campaigns. You should be able to actually build campaigns in DemandSense a year from now, and then push those creatives to multiple channels. Look at the signals that come back, what creatives they're engaging with, website visitors, where they came from. We're going to call that demand sensing, and then being able to hone in on those most engaged users, follow up with them with a retargeting framework and convert, but more of an omni-channel marketing approach and direct response kind of platform is eventually what it's going to evolve into. So baby steps.
Yeah, really exciting. Well, maybe we'll have another conversation in a year from now about, DemandSense being more of an omni-channel tool, which would be very, very cool.
We'll pull this video for reference.